We're going to start now with a song, page 48. When I was back in the order several years ago, this religious order, we did some research on songs, and one of the summers or winters or whenever it was, we started teaching ourselves love songs to the mystery, love songs to the final reality. And so we picked a lot of just standard love songs and sang them with that context in mind. So I wanted us to sing one this afternoon, And I Love You So, there in the bottom of page 48. And, yeah, well, we don't have Harry Como here, we just have me and you, so we will get by maybe. But some of you don't know the tune to this, so I'm going to sing the first line there, and then we'll sing it over again together. And I love you so that people ask me how I've lived till now. I tell them I don't know. People say I've changed, that we don't understand. Ever since the day I took your hand. And yes, I know how lonely life can be. The shadows follow me. The night won't set me free. But I don't let the evenings get me down. Now that you're around me, and you love me too, your thoughts are just for me. You make my heart alive and set my spirit free. The book of life is brief, but once a page is read, all of love is there. This is my belief. And yes, I know how lonely life can be. The shadows follow me. At night won't set me free. But I don't let the evening get me down. Now that you're around me. So this afternoon is on the topic of religion. What is religion? And I have even put some ideas on this board right here to start with. Religion is a social practice. It's right down at the bottom of the social process triangle. Practices, 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 practices. And by practice, I mean practice is the second thing. Social process is, what I'm trying to say about that is that religion is not something that fell down from heaven. It is something created by human beings, just like the educational system is created by human beings. I like saying it this way. On this level, religion is just the same kind of thing as the sewage system. It's just a social process. A social process, just like any other social process of economics or political or cultural life. And at the bottom of this social processing of religion is practice. And I mean by practice things like rituals and icons and myths and narratives and theoretics and theologies and communities and life together and ethics. All these kinds of things are things that are done. The religion is action. 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 It's the intending of something. It's the doing of something. So I'm going to talk about now, why will we do this? What do we do religion for? Since it's such a simple human thing anyway, why do it? What's its purpose? And the answer is contained in a good understanding of the word awakening. To awaken your consciousness, or my consciousness, to the depths of what I'm going to just call, for the want of a better term, profound consciousness. If you want to use a word like spirit or nirvana or something else, these words are all Atman. These words are all shoving to say something about consciousness that is not just how you get through your day consciousness, but how you profoundly access being human consciousness. So that's what we're going to talk about this afternoon, is how we access being human consciousness. And the little song we just sang, Love Songs to Reality, that was a religious practice. That's all it was, just a little stupid religious practice. It was kind of stupid singing love songs to the mystery, I guess. But you may have accessed a bit of profound humanness. I don't know. You might have. You never can tell when any religious practice is going to work. Or here's another religious practice I want us to experiment with. Take a deep breath, 4 counts. Hold it for 4 counts. And exhale for 6. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, what did that religious practice do for you? You feel more relaxed? I'll let you figure that out. We're going to talk about breathing in depth a little bit. But when you watch for breathing a while, you never notice you are a breathing being. You also can notice that you're noticing. And that's really the deepest kind of experience being entered at that point, when you're noticing that you're noticing. You're noticing life, you're noticing your interior life, you're noticing your exterior life, but you're noticing that you're noticing. As far as I know, cats don't do this. They're conscious, and they're smart in consciousness, as are dogs and porpoises and a lot of other being persons. But as far as I know, they don't notice that they're noticing. This is a gift given to us by all kinds of different things that make us human. A certain kind of language usage, a certain kind of art usage, a certain kind of emotional intensification. We can notice that we're noticing. We can be conscious of our consciousness. So that's what we're going to do this afternoon, is be conscious of our profound consciousness. I'm going to start with another little reading from John Burney. Awakening changes everything. It offers you a new approach to life, a new set of options. That's not to say that your old personal dynamics vanish. The personality has a lot of momentum. But even though you may all still experience this, at least some of the same old automatic reactivities, you'll find yourself welcoming it rather than pushing it away. You see that these familiar personality reactivities arising from the space of awareness. You see how they work, how they function. You'll see very, very clearly that your thoughts and reactions are no longer, and never actually were, who you are. And one more little paragraph. Awakenment, or awakening, is active. It's being opening rather than a passive state of being open. It's a movement of energy, of availability, of receptivity. And when you're truly receptive, you're also radiant, transmitting the truth of who and what you are in every moment. Awakening is not an end point. It's an ongoing discovery, an ongoing movement into the perpetually unknown. In an infinitely unknowable universe, how could there be an endpoint? The idea of an endpoint, a place called awakening, that you are striving to reach, might be useful temporarily. The sense of a goal or a destination could be helpful in helpful motivating idea, especially if you're just starting out on the path. But ultimately, awakening is not an idea. It cannot be understood or comprehended through thinking. Thinking may have gotten you up to the door, but now you have to find out. But now you have to find out how to let go of thinking, how to allow yourself to dissolve into the vastness of pure presence. Well, that's pretty profound stuff there, but I just want us to get some feel here to start with of what we're after here. It's profound stuff. And I'm going to talk about good and bad religion with a chart that I have built over many, many years from many, many, many sources. Ajahn Santi was one of my sources. E.H. Almos was one of my sources. Joan Tollison was one of my sources. Joe Matthews was a big one of my sources. This chart has some relevance in relationship to what used to be called the 144 charts. Some of you have studied the 144 charts. It also has some relevance to the charts called the Other World charts, the Land of Mystery and so forth. But anyway, it's just a chart, it's just a model, and it's a model of our profound consciousness. This may seem like ludicrous, since profound consciousness is unintelligible, or it's beyond reason, or impossible to get your mind around, or it's always more than you think. So to have a model of profound consciousness may shake your credibility or something. But that's what we got here, is a fantastic model of profound consciousness. And that's what this is inside the circle. It's 9 states of profound consciousness. These 3 states have to do with what Christians call trust, the profound consciousness of trust. And these 3 on the right-hand side of the chart are called freedom in the vocabulary of Christianity. And these 3 in the middle are called love in the vocabulary of Christianity. But a very special kind of love, a profound love. Maybe the word care is a better word than love for what we're talking about here. The agape word of Greek in the New Testament is better translated care. Do you care for things? Then are you romantic, or are you sexually alert, or something else? So these can be talked about as care. This care for self is this one right here. Care for others is this one right here. And care for the ground of your being, or care for the absolute up againstness you're up against, is the center of this model. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about, if I could do this in an hour, all 9 of these quickly, and then tell you which of these practices of religion, these are all practices of religion around here, which of these practices of religion best help you access or occasion or accident, makes you more accident prone for this corresponding state of your profound consciousness. So for example, I'm going to talk first about transparent attention, which is something that's beyond knowing we've been talking about, this interior watching we've been talking about. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to talk about this one and this one. Then I'm going to go back and talk about how profound dialogue helps you access your transparent attention, and how boundless inquiry, boundless inquiry. If any of you study with A.A. Almaas, the word inquiry is given a new level of meaning. Boundless inquiry helps you, believe it or not, access your universal forgiveness, and then how holistic detachment helps you access the profound state of effortless letting be. So that's the first third of what I'm going to do. I'll go through that in each in the world. Let's look at transparent attention. The word transparent means looking through your concepts, through your thinking, through your sensing, through your feeling, to the reality of being profound consciousness. Kazantzakis had some poetry that I liked on this topic. He's a crazy writer, but I like some of his word choices. To see and accept the boundaries of the human mind without vain rebellion, and in these severe limitations to work ceaselessly without protest. This is where a human being's first duty lies. Then he goes on and talks a bit, and then he says, I recognize these limitations. I accept them with resignation, bravery, and love, and I struggle at ease when they're in closure, as though I were free. I submit matter and force it to become my mind's human medium. I rejoice in plants and animals and humans as though they were my children. I feel all the universe nesting within me and following me as though it were my own body. So, in sudden, dreadful moments of thought, a thought flashes through me. This is all a cruel and futile game, without beginning, without end, without meaning. So he says you don't even begin on the spirit journey until you get beyond your mind. Then you realize that your mind will not hold it. Your mind is a finite creature like you're pissing. It's just there as a very important servant in your life. But profound consciousness is something you are accessing beyond your mind's capacity to even know how it's being accessed. And religion is something invented to help us do that. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about this feeling or sensibility of being in this transparent attention. We commonly see through the screens of our mental concepts, so they're always there. We see through these concepts. But consciousness can also see beyond the screens of our thought to experiences of consciousness itself and of reality. We get glimpses of this when we change our mental screens. Just think of that time when your whole way of looking at being something just shifted over here. Why did it shift? How did it shift? There was a gap between looking at the universe this way and looking at the universe this way. Think about the gap. In some deep way, you gave up this universe and took on this one. It wasn't your mind that did that. It was you at a deeper level called transparent attention. Transparent attention also involves being aware of your estrangements. Not only are we reality accessing beings, but we can access the ways in which we are running from reality, dread-filled by reality, horror-stricken by reality, and denying it exists and building substitutes for reality with our busy minds. Estrangement doesn't mean anything more really than that. It means confusing your ideas or universe that you've created about things with reality. That's what it means to be estranged. You have a universe that does not exist that you're living in, rather than the one that exists that you actually are living in, and in which your consciousness and your profound consciousness actually is present. So what being transparent attention means is not building some knowledge, but realizing that you have to give up your knowledge in order to get more knowledge, and just be beyond both the giving up and the getting of knowledge, of reasoned understanding. This is no condemnation of good thinking. This is not anti-intellectualism. It is the most profound kind of permission to be intellectual. And it's an acknowledgement that we are ignorant. This may be the hardest thing about us, is just to realize how stupid we are. Transparent attention is attention to your stupidity, to your ontological, existential, depth, profound stupidity. I mean, put it this way, primitive people were experts at flint chipping. I'm completely incapable of doing flint chipping. And other technologies that I've lost entirely. So when I think of myself as much brighter and much more aware of things than primitive people, we have to just get a little bit of humility here and realize that we are facing with exactly the same final mystery that primitive people were facing. That those people were just as capable of being human as we are in our august 21st century, knowing a lot of things he didn't know, of course, or she didn't know, of course. So we sometimes despair over the fact that we're so ignorant. And we will be looked upon as ignorant 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 300 years from now. They will look back on us as just as stupid as we look back on 300 years in the past. This is an ongoing process of stupidity. But to just despair over our stupidity is not the only thing that you can do. Because this is what it means to be transparent, is to know it personally and intensely as given to you, as your primary gift from God, so to speak. We won't use the word God today, but anyway. We can be gloriously humble before our real humanity, which is stupid before the absolute mystery. And this makes us stronger thinkers, more compassionate actors. So it's not dogmatic beliefs we're talking about, and it's not rejecting thinking we're talking about. We're talking about finding the ground for deep thinking about the finitude of all thinking. Maybe I better say it again. Deep thinking about the finitude of all thinking. Okay, we've really spent a good bit of time on this one, but I just want to underline that Kazazaka says, you got to start here. If you're still hung up in your mind and going to figure it all out tomorrow, the spirit journey is being not even entered, okay? But the second thing you've got to feel aware of in this trust journey is the facticity of universal forgiveness. That this incomprehensible peace and new start is just built into consciousness, it's built into the cosmos. That however wretched and stupid your life has been for 50 years, life is presenting you now with a fresh start. That is just fact, it's, or truth or wisdom or something like that. The horror of universal forgiveness is that if you accept universal forgiveness for yourself and all your stupidities, you're also accepting it for everybody else. I want you to just realize what it means to accept forgiveness for Donald Trump, or Adolf Hitler, or you name him or her across the course of history. When you accept forgiveness for yourself, you accept it for your mother, for your father, for your sister, for your brother, for everyone. Perhaps the key estrangement in your life and mine is our lack of forgiveness for other people, because it is essentially going to be the case for the rest of our life that we see the estrangements in other people easier than we see them in ourselves. And so we're going to have all kinds of reasons to not see forgiveness for other people, even though we would sort of like it for ourselves. We might. I mean, if we didn't realize the cost of accepting forgiveness. But anyway, I'm always before an utterly fresh start. This is awfully good news if you're really worried about the karma that is built into our United States culture or something, or your Canadian culture, the case may be. But fresh start is just built into the cosmos. That is a profound realization that is simply wisdom. This state of profound consciousness is called effortlessly letting be. What that means is that you do not have to do anything at all to be authentic. Nothing. Your authenticity is there before you do anything or think about doing anything. All authenticity requires is giving up your shit, your estrangements, your stupidity in the way of wishing not to have the world you have on your hands, and so forth. So authenticity is a tough journey, really, because we have so much social conditioning built in, so much excuses built in, so much reactive hatreds built into our structure of personality, that you're demolishing things to find your authenticity. But on the other side of this demolition is a great thing, your real you. It's more vast, more wondrous than you can imagine. Well, at any rate, that's the left-hand side of the chart. Told briefly, we call this trust. You may recognize some of those imagery from earlier courses. But what religious practices assist us with our transparent attention? Profound dialogue. Joyce and I went to a workshop by Ira Progoff. Everybody heard of Ira Progoff? Ira Progoff used this term, profound dialogue, as a key to his gift to the world. But his work reminded me also of another concept that I learned earlier in my religious training in this old order, of the meditative council. Have you ever heard of a meditative council? Meditative council has to do with all the people that you talk with interiorly. It's like you have, well, here's some of my meditative council people. Susan K. Langer, Nikos Kazantzakis, John Burney, Richard Niebuhr, Richard Feynman, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Paul Tillich, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have all kinds of voices that I've had a lot of conversations with through reading, some of them with actual eye-to-eye meeting and so forth. And you do too. Your interior memory banks are just flooded with saints and non-saints, because even Adolf Hitler is sitting there in the back row of your meditative council as one of your teachers, whether you wish him to be there or not. In fact, you're in charge of organizing this meditative council and who sits on the back row and who sits on your front row. Maybe Paul Tillich is on my front row and Adolf is back there on the very far rear rows, but I've learned a few things from watching that son of a bitch and so forth. So you organize your meditative council. And doing so, and we're going to have an exercise on doing so in the workshop that follows, allows you to access how stupid you are, how deep it is to be profoundly conscious. All these figures tell you things that you want to hear and don't want to hear. They enrich your awareness of your awareness, and you treasure them for doing so. If you want to be authentic, if you want to have your depth self, you treasure more than your life almost some of these figures that are speaking to you what you need to have spoken and what you need to remember to have spoken to you. So, well, that's an image of why profound dialogue is so helpful as a practice. What does it mean? It could be reading the Bible. It could be reading John Burney. It could be reading the newspaper in some instances, and other things, or talking with people, gossiping with people, sharing with people in a profound way that goes to the depth of our realizations. Universal forgiveness is best accessed or occasioned by boundless inquiry. A.H. Almos gave me this word inquiry in the intensity I mean it. It's something different than diary writing, but journaling is something some of you do. Journaling is where you really put down on paper some of your own profound insights that you have run into or discovered or been awakened to. And journey writing can be an example of profound dialogue or profound inquiry, where you're inquiring with those kinds of exercises, religious exercises, into the depths of your forgiveness, to the depths of how we're all forgiven. And I've done a group process in profound inquiry I really recommend. It's called the repeating question. In one of the workshops I went to, they divided us up into groups of 2, and one of the persons just repeated a question, some really relevant question, and you answered it, and they repeated the question, and you answered it again, and repeated the question, and you answered it again. About the 6th time you had to answer that same question, you were doing boundless inquiry into your actual life and your actual what needed to be forgiven and what was. Okay, I'm being brief here, but I want you just to see this magic here, that religion is magical in the sense of accessing your profound consciousness. Let's look at effortless letting be. This one is called holistic detachment. This is my secular name for a process of religion that was called poverty in my earliest training about this sort of thing. That giving up my absolute need for status, for wealth, for acceptance by my peers is a religious practice you have to have to join a religious order. It's a religious practice you can have by just outlining for yourself simplistic living, where having to be the best of something is not really required in your imagination. Holistic detachment can be a group process where people get together and work out some kind of simplification of their lives. It can be a monastic order, as I've already mentioned, or just some pattern of living, some economic model for your whole life expenditure. It can be that kind of religious practice that allows you to just effortlessly let be, to just be beyond having to be in control to protect your last gold discovery or something. That was a little hard to grasp in its way, and all 3 of these are going to be hard to grasp, but you don't have to be somebody, you don't have to have some status, you can effortlessly letting be your humanity and then work for there to have whatever status you need to live your life. Okay, I'm going to go on to the right side of this model. 3 states of freedom, starting with profound merging, beyond egoism, interior initiative. What I'm running to drive at with those secular terms is that your essential freedom is a surrender, not a construction. You don't have to do something to have freedom. You just have to accept the fact that you are free at the roots of your profound essence. Freedom just sits there waiting for you to free freedom. So freedom is more like a surrender than an accomplishment. Freedom is built into the structure of consciousness. You might say that consciousness is knowing or taking in reality, and consciousness is doing reality or doing consciousness, putting forth your life to change something. That's just built into what it means to be conscious, is to take in reality and do something with that taking in. Do something with that awareness, with that gift of power to change the course of history. So this has to do with just noticing this capacity to do something with your being. And that your being profoundly conscious is a profound capacity to do. And the religious practice that is very much related to profound merging with freedom is, I'm calling it, persistent intentions. In the Christian community, this is called prayer. Prayer is a practice of consistent or persistent intentions. And in the Christian heritage, there are 4 different types of prayer, or 4 categories often used to talk about the prayer: confession, gratitude, petition, and intercession. Probably petition is the easiest one to understand. Petition is an intention to be your better self, or intention to be your deeper self, a petition to have a successful self or a successful depth of your being in action. So petitions for yourself are not a matter of selfishness in the regard of true prayer. It's a matter of what you need to actually be your humanity and to serve humanity with that thing. And intercession is your persistent intentions for others. You're praying for a better political system in the United States, or some particular politician to win his next election, or something of that nature. You can be very persistent in your intention, in your persistent intention about such things. And those are prayers, whether you're using the word God or Holy Spirit or anything else. Any persistent intention is an example of prayer. It's you're asking for reality to move in a different direction. And that asking doesn't always come off exactly the way you ask. But the fact that you ask changes what does come off. And it, first of all, changes what you actually do. If you're praying for health, it means you're setting up your being, you're programming your being to accept medicines of various kinds when you need them, to accept doctoring when doctors are required. So praying for health puts you in an openness for health. Or praying for a new political system takes you to the polls or something. That is, prayer changes things. It accesses your profound freedom to make a difference in the world. We understand that one pretty well, I believe. This one is harder. Inherent purity, living beyond good and evil, audacious boldness. My basic understanding of this comes from Genesis 2 in its original form, that Adam and Eve ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that was not a step up. That was a step down. Because in actual human reality, we don't know good and evil. We're making it up as we go along. We're living in situations of absolute ambiguity in which many different principles may apply and be useful, but finally, freedom means just jumping off the cliff into a decision that is unjustified by anything. And that is the essence of things. That kind of raw, absolute ability to choose beyond everything your parents taught you, everything they said was good, and everything they said was evil, and your whole culture, everything it taught you. To be a revolutionary of any sort absolutely means acting beyond the good and evil taught you. And so this is another way to put this, that your inherent purity is revolution. Your inherent purity is acting beyond the norms, acting from this profound freedom. So if you're accessing this profound freedom, you're inherently pure. You're not inherently pure because you did the right thing by the right rule. You're inherently pure because you acted from the purity of your freedom. Let me say it again. You're inherently pure because you acted from the freedom of your purity. Attuned, I was going to tell you how you get that purity going. Full body exformation. I learned that category from Cynthia Winton Henry and Phil Porter, founders of the movement called Interplay. Maybe some of you have had some in touch with that. And the idea of that movement is that we need to exform our life. We just take in information all the time. Information. But this religious practice demands exformation. And they came up with all kinds of ridiculous ways to get your exformation going, like singing opera, fake opera, over some subject like what you did to get up in the morning or something, babbling something about your shoes or whatever. Or we have a wonderful one that our faculty does every time we meet, and that's called DT3. DT3 is called Dance 1, Dance 2, and Dance 3. Dance 3 times. Dance Talk 3, yeah. Dance Talk 3. So each person gets up there and does a little stupid dance, something you're not used to doing or do every day, and then they talk. Just no preparation, just talk about your life, whatever way comes to you that day. And when you get to the end of that, you dance another little dance. Exformation, see? And tell another story or two. Dance a third time, tell another story or two. This is a practice of full body exformation, which practice assists you in being audaciously bold in your life. Do you see if that's possible? I mean, this woman who invented all this, what do they call it? Interplay, was a clergyman in the Methodist Church, I think it was, wasn't she?
Disciples of Christ.
Disciples of Christ. And she introduced dancing into her congregation as a pastor of that congregation. They threw her out.
No.
They didn't.
No, she renounced her, whatever it is that you have. They didn't throw her out. She
deliberately left, but it was over this issue that they didn't appreciate exformation. Anyway, they have a wonderful movement going, and it's added something to my understanding of religion that I simply did not have before learning that from them. Attuned working is also freedom. And this has to do with the fact that you're always being your freedom obediently in an actual situation of life. That reality is working here, and I'm working. I'm working in the reality that's being given to me. There's a passage in John where Jesus says, "My Father is working, and I am working." That's the idea. Attuned working. You're working in attunement with the reality that's being given to you. That's what freedom looks like, because you don't have any other place to be free except in the actual gift of reality that's giving you also your freedom, in which you're to be a response. Historical engagement is a way of talking about a religious practice that helps you with your attuned working. We don't often think of historical engagement as religious practice, but when I was in Jackson, Mississippi, walking down the street with Martin Luther King, I had a religious experience. I want to tell you, I knew that I was interfering with the mindsets of the people on the curb. And it wasn't because I was marching. It wasn't because I was, it was just because we were looking at life real different. And so that, to me, was an obvious time in which my engagement in history in racist Jackson, Mississippi, for that one little teeny thing, did something to me, if not to the people sitting on the porches, relative to engagement in history and relative to being attuned working in the reality of my culture. Oh, that's enough on that. I spent more time on it probably than I needed to in terms of the limits of the time here. But I want to wind up saying a bit about love or care. And I want to read a poem about care. Oh, this book here. Within the land of mystery rises a mountain of care. Care for self, care for others, care for earth, care for the cosmos, care that we exist, care that we suffer, care that we may find rest and fulfillment, care that we may experience our caring and not grow numb and dead. It takes no effort to care. It takes effort not to care. Care is given with the land of mystery. Care is part of the mystery of being. We care, we just care. We are made of care. Care is a mountain because care is so huge, so challenging to embrace, to climb, to live. Care is a demand upon us that is more humbling, more consuming, more humiliating than all the authorities, laws, and obligations of our social existence. Care is a forced march into the dangers and the hard work of constructing a life that is not a passive vegetable growth, nor a wildly aggressive obsession. Care is an inescapable given, simply there, yet care also an assertion of our very being. It is compassion, devotion, love for all that is being given, and for all the parts of each given thing, each being. Like Atlas, we lift the planet, day by day, year by year, love without end in the land of mystery. It takes poetry to get a hold of this stuff, and I think maybe you can feel some of that. This love of self does not mean loving your addictions and your refusal to live your life. It means loving getting out your true self. It means loving that authentic deposit of you that is there for the releasing. It's autonomous strength to love yourself, to realize that you are a unique, separate being and there's no substitute for you, and that you are a power. You are a strength. And it's a kind of aloneness, but it's not loneliness. Not you're missing somebody. You're finding yourself in your strength, in your autonomous strength, in your courageous heart. I love that phrase for describing this. Now, foundational meditation helps you access your autonomous strength. The Buddhists are the geniuses on foundational meditation. And I want to say a little bit about that. If I can find out what I want to say. It's almost always in these Buddhist teachings begin with watching your breath, but there are other things that are also contemplative or foundational meditation, like yoga and spirit dance and so forth. But this genius of seeing that just watching the simple human reality of the breath intensely so that your attention is placed on this real worldly thing allows you to see the busyness of your mind and the coming and going of your feelings and all this kind of thing, and also to see this ability in yourself to have the strength to just notice what you're noticing. That this is a strength. And to sit there in meditation for a day or a week or a month strengthens you. It gives you the power of your intentional depth for yourself and for what you are as a strong being. So that's, if you really want to love yourself, go to a Buddhist retreat. That's what that says there. We'll leave that one. Outflowing compassion has to do with loving others. And here again, the love we're talking about here is not indulging others in whatever they want to do with their lives exactly, but helping them find themselves, being some use to them in that way, being some encouragement to them some way, some gift to them in some way. That no matter who they are, what kind of problem they're in, or where they are in their journey, you are there for them in some kind of inclusive devotion for the best outcome of their lives. That's pretty clear, although loving others is a challenge, as we've all experienced, because human beings are prone to be challenging in one way or another. Devotional singularity is probably the hardest concept on this chart to understand. But I think it's an important one. It's a religious practice that helps you become aware of people by practicing devotionally a specific religion. Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, or something else. Whatever your choice for religious practice, devotional singularity means practicing those symbols, real symbols that help you constantly, every day, every week, every year, every rest of your life, until you change your religious practice. It's a devotion, a devotional practice. So good religion is a devotional practice. It's something you have constructed or participated in constructing or living with the help of something that's been constructed in a disciplined, devotional fashion over periods of time, weekly, daily, monthly, yearly, so forth. Enchantment with being, I want to mention this one, because it's the final denouement of this whole chart. It has to do with being enchanted with the mystery, enchanted with the ground of your being, enchanted with the way reality really, 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 and really is. It blows the bottom out of the word enchantment. And enchantment is itself a wonderful word. Maybe some of you have been enchanted with some person you've known in your life, or some job you've had has been enchanting, or some place you've lived has been enchanting. To be enchanted with reality just does something to the word enchanting, that being enchanted with your place and your job and your whatever doesn't quite live up to. be enchanted with the mystery. That state of being profoundly conscious kind of gives a glow to all of these other states. It enriches them all. It stands behind them all. That's why in this chart it has this kind of center position. And I want to read another poem that holds that feel of that state of being. In the land of mystery, there is a sea of tranquility, a place of rest amidst the wild waters of life. The waves may be high, our small boat tossed about, but there we are with a courageous heart. It is our heart that is courageous. We are born with this heart. We do not achieve it. We can simply rest within our own living heart. Our own courageous heart that opens vulnerably to every person and all aspects of that person, to our own self and every aspect of that self, to life as a whole with all its terrors and joys. This is a strange rest, for no storm can end it, no challenge of life defeat it, no loss, no death, no horror of being, no fear can touch our courageous heart. We live, if we allow ourselves to truly live, on the wild sea of everything in the tranquility of our own indescribable courageous heart. To manifest and fully experience this tranquility, we have only to give up the creations of our mind that we have substituted for this ever-present peace. We have only to open to the land of mystery, flowing with a river of consciousness and containing a mountain of care. Here and here alone do we find the sea of tranquility. Here in the land of mystery that our mind cannot comprehend, create, or control. Here beyond our deepest depth or control is a sea of tranquility in the land of mystery. This state of being is accessed most directly by the practice of visionary trance. Now, this is the very oldest religious practice. The shaman of pre-civilization led their youth into trance. It was like they would go off into some other world in this trance, solve things, and come back to their real life. So if this was a ritual going on for an adolescent, for example, you left childhood with the instruction of this shaman, and you go off into a trance in which childhood is dissembled, and you return to the tribe as a full adult. This kind of thing was practiced by the Holy Rollers, the early Quakers. You've maybe been in services like this where they produced or tried to produce, or maybe they produced in you some kind of, where have I gone here experience. But it's more common than those seemingly extreme things that have probably troubled to most of us. If you've been in a great song fest, you may have had an experience of trance, or a trance experience, a religious experience, of gone somewhere, just out-of-body experience almost, you might call it, because of the intensity of the songs as they built up. Or maybe a drumming circle. I love to be in drumming circles, where you just do what the next guy inspired you to do until, my God, the whole circle of people have just left this world and gone somewhere. And you come back from such moments and you're different. That's the idea. It's a very old religious practice and can be a very effective one. We should not hold it in contempt. Even just coming apart like we've done here for a whole week, 4 days week, means that you've gone someplace, spiritually speaking. When you start to go home, you're not going home the same person. You had some kind of 4 weeks, 4 days, I mean it seemed like 4 weeks, 4 days of somewhere. that you came back then to your ordinary life, something different, something more aware of yourself and the world around you and so on. So that's the end of this unbelievable coverage lecture to do all in one. Well, each one of these could be a whole week's effort or a whole day's effort at least. So if you feel a little bit overwhelmed by looking at this whole chart in one talk, you're on target. I mean, you're supposed to be a little bit, you know, whatever. Anyway, I'm done. And it's right on time here.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you.
Okay. This little talk had more than one night's preparation. It's more like 34 years at least.
It's really significant to be able to hear the poetry that you read to illuminate our readiness to hear some of this more terminology about religion. That poetry touches some other place.
Yeah.
It's very helpful, and I know we're going to have a picture of it all, but it'd be great to have the pages of Kaz and the pages of Bernie and the pages of Marshall, if you will, just to give that poetry.
This is an important insight because that's what religion is. We just discussed a new image of religion. It always has to do with poetry. It always has to do with something that reaches beyond just rational understandings to an access of life that's deeper than that. Any otherbody have a question of some sort?
Well, just a comment on the question that always arises now is why? Why do this? Why have a church? Why have a religion? Why have a circle of people? Why do this? And so then that's what I was trying to put together is the answer.
Yeah.
And and so I got, awaken, which is an ongoing discovery, our consciousness, which is freedom, to the profound consciousness, which is vastness of pure presence, and it's enchanting. But it's just, we have to be able to say why somehow to
Yeah.
people. Or help them to discover why.
Yeah.
Or they're just not going to be interested. They're not going to.
And the why doesn't have to do with being success in the world. It has to do with being human, which is something many people are running from as fast as they possibly can. So you're challenging people with a why that's hard to answer, because the why of religion is to access what it means to be a human being. And why should you want to be a human being? Well, do you want to be a grasshopper or a snake or a vegetable? I mean, it's your guess, it's your option. Yeah.
I think a lot of the why is an invitation to discovery, though. The impulse to grow, to discover, to expand. It's such a basic human impulse. And somehow religion has gotten in our minds connected with the opposite of that impulse. You take something beautiful and you put it in a box, and then you make it stagnant, and then you make it strict,
Right.
and then you make it so you can't be, you can't grow.
Right.
And that's the huge overcoming that I hear you talking about.
Right.
So to invite people into exercises, spiritual practices, you have to understand that what we'll call them is that natural impulse to grow and expand. And we have so many young people coming to the Sangha because these ideas are really old, but to them, they're brand new. It's like, where was this all my life?
Right, sure.
So I really enjoyed how all these categories, when you talk about them, you're bringing a lot of freshness to them, I think, and it makes me want to explore more, to understand more.
Yeah, and there's a hidden meaning in choosing secular categories here. It's saying to us, this is just human. It's not Christian, it's not Buddhist, it's just human. All these various religions and their various kinds of manifestations of such practices as these, it's just human constructions to enable us to access something that is just human.
Your discussion of forgiveness checks my understanding here, because I've got a whole new picture now.
Uh-huh.
You talked about it, it's difficult for humans to practice forgiveness. What came to me when you said that part is because we see the human practice of our concept of justice instead of the ontological reality of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And we should abandon the opposite of forgiveness, which is our concept of justice, and replace it with justing love.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean a diminution of justice as a calling to us, a calling of love to make the societies more just.
But
But you're not imposing, you're not imposing rules. You're helping people access their being, out of which being they can make better rules, perhaps. But yeah, you're right. It's something different than forcing justice. Yeah.
You know, your answer about this is, you know, the practice of religion to become more human, and we want to do that. There are some religious viewpoints that it's not about here and now, it's about an afterlife. And so that answer to such people with that mindset of it's not about being human for them. It's about something
Right.
that's an afterlife. I find it then, I don't know where to go from there.
Well, you're moving into the topic of good and bad religion. I'm suggesting that there is such a thing as good religion, and this is good religion. So anything else that's helping you escape your humanity or substitute for reality some fantasy world may call itself religion, but in terms of what religion is in its historical presence, that's bad religion. So that's a hard thing, because if anybody's practicing bad religion, they're practicing it because it helps them get away from their reality. And so you're asking something like a transformation of deep, deep sort to give up practicing bad religion and start practicing good religion.
So this, in a sense, is an elaboration on the southmost triangle,
Mm-hmm.
the social triangle.
Yeah, it is. These are the practices that you're talking about, and they're for the purpose, those practices, good religion are for the purpose of accessing this humanness. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like a word that's popular now, and part of the why for me is the word happiness, which is in that book that you are reading from, which is a secular concept. I'm not in just, finding pleasure, but a deep happiness is really being deeply, fully, authentically human,
Mm-hmm.
right? And where life will be a state of flow, and so I don't see that word there, but you read from the book about the happiness of what is.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds.
Yes.
And there's a spiritual quality to that.
A new understanding of happiness is not just having $1 billion or something. Yeah.